Hi, I'm Jonathan Zinovic, designer at Dimension Inc.
And I'm Dave Kelly, the build end of our design-build equation.
Let's talk additions, Dave.
Yep, additions. So additions can be many things. They can be a master suite, could be a sunroom, could be, I mean, the scope of additions is quite broad.
Yeah, and I think probably our most typical one, though, that we kind of use as our base point when people ask us about additions is probably a master suite.
Yeah, that's the most requested one.
I think it's because our old homes in our areas, we really didn't have master suites back in the 40s and 50s, right? So I think people are looking for that. How do I get that? How do I stay in the area I'm in? How do I expand the old house? And so master suite. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to do an addition of a master suite. So tell me a little bit about the construction side of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, from a budget standpoint, your master suite additions, and that's always a hard one to identify, but and it's probably the number one question we get asked. But you know, kind of a mid-range master suite addition, cost-wise, on average, you're probably starting at about $120,000. You know, maybe between $120 and $150 seems to be an average range. Now, if we're going more of an upscale master suite edition, you know, you can, $150,000, $200,000 isn't necessarily that uncommon.
Sure. And when we talk about $120,000, I mean, to kind of put some scope around it, that would be a bedroom, a walk-in closet for sure, and then some sort of bathroom that would typically have like a nicer walk-in shower into it, things like that. So that 120 encompasses those kind of three parts of that addition, right? Now, would that be something that we typically see on a slab, or I mean, what do we typically, or is that a full basement?
Yeah, I mean, typically that would be a crawl space application. You know, I mean, we could go to full basement. Just varies on the customer. So the full basement scenario would be more, but again, we're trying to give a rough range of, what costs you can expect with a project like that.
Sure, and when we get into that 150 to 200, we're looking at additional things like maybe there's a shower and a tub, or maybe it's a walk-through shower, all custom tile work, custom vanities, things like that, as well as maybe something in the bedroom too. Maybe we're on trade ceilings and fancier fixtures there. Excellent. So if that's kind of the construction scope and a budget, what kind of timeline would someone be looking at?
Yeah, so typically when you're putting in new footings, foundation wall, and all that, when you're adding space to a home, you're probably, from the construction end of the equation, you're probably looking at least 3 months from start to finish, from the point we put the shovel on the ground to when we're done. And it could be 3 to 4 months, but people also got to understand that you need time as the designer to sit down with these customers and come up with the best solution for what they're trying to achieve. And typically you're adding another 4 to 8 weeks right there just to get that whole process sorted out, because you're usually going through and helping them pick out materials and colors and all that as well. So it's definitely process driven, and so altogether, from the time we start to the design till we're done, can be 5-6 months.
Yeah, and a couple of pieces that go into play there too. When we get into additions, I think you got to take into account that now we're going to get the city involved. So when we're working on the inside of the house, the city, they play a little bit nicer with us. They don't require us to go in front of any boards or any review sectors. But when we're getting into additions, one thing to account is we're going to have to get it approved by the city. And most cities nowadays have an architectural control board kind of limiting what we can do outside. And they only meet once a month. And depending on the month that we're ready to do that in, sometimes they skip a month, like December, because of Christmas or things like that. So kind of keep that in mind when we're talking about 5 to 6 months. We just got to get through the city in order to give us that green light as well. I think the other thing comes in to play here is our climate, right? So I would imagine that we're not doing a whole lot of addition work digging in February when it's more
typically not, no. And there's always we got to get the frost out of the ground, and then there's always the road limit issue depending on where you live, meaning we can't drive heavy dump trucks and cement trucks on certain roads. So there can be a couple months there, 2-3 months, where we really can't start a project on that requires exterior work.
Yeah. So some things that we can kind of recap on here is additions master suite wise would be about $120,000 to $150,000 is a good kind of budget range. Just put yourself in unless you're looking at something higher end. Critically though, give yourself a 3-month lead time. So if we're doing good times, if we're talking about doing something in the spring, you want to kind of contact us in December, January, get your ball rolling so that we can get you off past what limits, get you going.
Right.
Although any project can start any time of the year, so don't limit yourself there. But imagine that 6-month time frame as a good one. Some things, if we wanted to scale it back, if we weren't doing a master suite so much, if we took away the bathroom,
Yeah.
I mean, what could some of be expected for just additions?
Sunrooms is another common one. That nice room off the back of the house. And I would say on average you're probably in the $70,000, $75,000, $80,000 range for a sunroom addition. Again, it can vary, but just kind of a general idea as a starting point.
Yeah. And when it comes to sunrooms, everybody kind of turns back to, well, there's those sunroom guys, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing to keep in mind is municipalities are seemingly denying those type of metal structures added onto houses. So kind of keep that in mind if you're looking for a sunroom addition. Some municipalities are really sticky about that, and you want to contact your local municipality just to make sure that that's acceptable. So,
Yep.
All right. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.